Hello, welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying warm. I don't know about where you live, but it was pretty cold this morning, and I decided to keep my hat on, and it also is hiding some of my roots that are coming in because I desperately need to get to the beauty parlor, but that's a whole other thing. My hairdresser's been, I don't know, hard to get to lately, so hopefully this hat is not shadowing too much in my face. But I wanted to just come in and just do a little bit of a catch up. I hope you had a wonderful October. I certainly did. It was like a beautiful month, actually. And of course, it went by much too fast, but it definitely felt like the entire month felt, for me anyway, very Halloween-y. It seems like every year it gets more and more, and it's so much fun. Halloween has really grown into such a fun holiday. And I did a lot of reading. Of course, I went through my whole Exorcist thing, but I've been also reading some other books and watching some good horror films, some classic films. So thought I would discuss those a little bit today. And what else before I get into that? Oh, I do have a little bit of mail. I opened this one. This is another submission for my new zine that I should say our new zine because I have a partner, Dr. J. I'll link all his links below. He's really great on TikTok, and he's on YouTube too and Instagram if you don't know about him. He's really funny. He knows more about Jaws than anyone I've ever met. So I actually did a couple summers ago, we did a Jaws discussion, and he really blew me out of the water, no pun intended, on his knowledge. But anyway, he and I are working on our new zine, which is coming out late January, probably. It's kind of a Valentine theme, My Bloody Valentine theme. So we're looking for, especially poetry, bitter love poetry, anything that's a combination of romance and horror. Not necessarily paranormal romance, but more like horror-based romance. I love like bitter poetry. In fact, I've been working on a book of bitter poetry, bitter love poetry that should be coming out. I don't know. I have a collection that I've been putting together slowly because that's how I write poetry, like slowly over a period of years. Right now, Carney is getting there. I'm about 3/4 into my final polish, and I worked on it this morning. I can only work on like a few chapters at a time or my brain starts to fry. So every day I'm chipping away. So that should be coming out. I should be doing a pre-order for that in a couple weeks, if not sooner. And I will be also doing a giveaway because I don't want to get premature about this and jinx myself, but I did notice that I am very, very close to getting 4,000 subscribers on my channel. Yay. I think the last time I checked, I was just a couple away. So if you are somebody who watches and maybe you don't subscribe, well, this would be a great time to subscribe. And you know, I never tell anyone on my channel to ever like, subscribe, hit the notification bell because I just don't remember to say that. Every other YouTuber says that on repeat and I always forget. So for today, I will say, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, because once I hit 4,000, I'm going to be doing a really fantastic giveaway. I've been thinking about what that's going to be, and I have some ideas, but I'm not going to share it until I get there because I don't want to jinx myself. So yes, but anyway, if you'd like to submit a story or a poem by mail only, the details will be listed below. And I got a postcard from Edinburgh. This is from Alex. She and her husband were holidaying there. Oh my gosh. This has always been my dream, to go there and see like the Shakespeare in the castle, like to see a production of King Lear or Hamlet. It's just stunning. Thank you, Alex. A nice postcard. I really love it. I love getting postcards abroad. You know, it just makes me feel special and jealous in a way, but I'm happy for you. Okay, so what have I been reading? What did I read for the month of October? I'm still rereading The Exorcist. I kind of put it down because I picked something else up, but I'm halfway through that. Of course, I read it before, but I'll keep reading it. I finished Psycho, finally. Psycho by Robert Bloch. I really loved it. I thought it was great. I can't believe that all this time went by and I've never read Psycho. I guess I just figured, hey, I've seen the movie a million times. I don't need to read the book. But I'm really glad I read the book because it's so interesting to see the source material for that incredible masterpiece film. And the book is really good. I tried to imagine what it must have been like to read that book fresh. And it must have been really shocking when that first shower scene occurs, which in the book is, and that it's kind of like, well, first of all, spoilers if you don't know Psycho. I may be discussing the plot here, so just to warn you. In the Hitchcock film, there's that entire montage in the shower scene with the knife and there must be like 100 edits in that sequence. You never quite see the knife go in, but you don't need to because each cut is like a knife thrust. It's so artistically done. It's, of course, famous for that reason. In the book, it's like, and then he chopped her head off. Or, sorry, mother chopped her head off. I just gave it away. And the Norman Bates character is very different, physically anyway, in the book. But it goes into all the details, and I really enjoyed, especially the part where Norman's forbidden library is discussed. Like his Marquis de Sade books and his secret pornography stash and all this stuff. Like, it's really great. Ed Gein, or is it Gain, that infamous horrible serial killer, I think Psycho was based on that a bit. He's actually mentioned in the book, so obviously there was an influence there, but you kind of get that character, that Norman Bates character is a certain type of person and, dominated by his mother in life and in death. And it's a very beautifully formed, I don't know if beautiful is the best word to describe it, but full character, a unique character, but one that we all have recognized. I don't know if there's ever been, if this author, Robert Bloch, was the first one to ever write about this type of character. I mean, today they might call him an incel, which I think is a little bit insulting, and I don't really like to use that word, so I just did, so shame on me, but that's tossed around a lot as an insult. There are a lot of men who would fit that bill who are not, psycho killers. Yeah, it's a great book. Great character, fast read. I guess you would call it like a pulp classic in the best sense. I've been watching a lot of old movies on TCM, and so many of those are based on old like pulp books. When I say pulp, I don't mean that as a pejorative. It's like, to me, that's a compliment. What else did I read? Oh, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, kind of a different direction, but that was for my book club. I spent about a good week reading that every morning. It's not a really long book, but it's dense. I really enjoyed it. I have read it before, but probably not since I was in my 20s. And I remember reading, I spent one summer where I was reading all the Jane Austen books, and I, kind of walked around like I was Elizabeth, and I just kind of felt that way again reading this book. This kind of gets you into this certain mindset. And I started watching the Keira Knightley film. I didn't quite finish it, but I will before my next book club meeting next week. And then, of course, as soon as it came out, I just had to get The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. And I got it on audiobook. It's not a very long audiobook. I mean, my one complaint is that I wish it had just gone on and on and on because I just hung on every word. It was narrated by Michelle Williams. She did an incredible job. She sounds like Britney. Britney actually did a little bit of the introduction. I felt like Michelle really got Britney's voice. And what an incredible story. I will listen to it again. I mean, I've always been you might not believe this, but a fan of Britney Spears. Like, I'm not into pop music or even pop stars per se. I've seen many come and go, of course. I can't stand Madonna, as everyone knows. But there's something about Britney Spears that I always found just fascinating. First of all, I think she's incredibly talented. I remember when she first hit the scene, everyone's like, she can't sing, she's vapid, blah, 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 dumb blonde. No. Go back and watch some of her early videos, and you will really see the incredible talent. One of my favorite albums is her, and she mentions it in the book, is her album Blackout. That came out during that whole Britney shaved her head, she had her nervous breakdown, that whole thing. Great record, incredible record. I know she worked with the best people, but she brought the goods in talent. You've seen plenty of pop stars come and go. We'll continue to see them come and go. The ones that stay with us are the ones that are really good, or the ones that refuse to give up, like Madonna. And I've seen clips of her latest tour, and I'm just like, as a woman I'm not quite as old as Madonna, but as someone who's, a mature person, I don't like to be that, she's too old, give it up. Because I think, hey, I'm doing goofy stuff at my age and I don't care what people think. But Madonna to me just never had the talent that Britney Spears had. I'm sorry, you'll disagree with me if you want, and I do believe that Madonna gave Britney the kiss of death, which sent her at the MTV Awards, which sent her in her whole spiral. I've been meaning to write a sequel for Unmasked, and I may explore that topic, like the younger pop person. Not that it's based on Madonna, just giving me ideas. But she actually mentions Madonna in her book and how Madonna comes over to her apartment and starts looking around. And then, I guess Madonna at the time saw Britney as sort of a threat in a way. She's becoming the new pop princess, the queen of pop or whatever. And Madonna kind of takes control. And Britney has a lot of admiration for Madonna in this book. Like, I wish I could be more like that. You mean like hard and soulless? No, Britney, you're never going to be that. That's why I love you. It's because you have a soul and you're vulnerable. That's what makes you great. It's like Neely O'Hara versus, oh my gosh, I'm going to write it here, the character's name. She's like, she doesn't have my hardcore. The one Susan Hayward played. Well, I'm totally blanking on her name. But yes, that's Madonna. Madonna's got the hardcore. Madonna is about Madonna. She is really a great example of like a narcissist. If you want to see an example, that's her. And some people love that. They think it's great. I don't. I find it like horrible. But Britney, to me, wasn't that at all. Or isn't that at all. She's a vulnerable person. Is she maybe a little out there with some of her stuff? Yeah, but I think what the point of her book is, and I think the title says it, like The Woman in Me, she really makes the point without saying it too on the nose that, if this had been like a male rock star, and we can think of many examples, acting crazy, driving around. Okay, she shouldn't have driven with a kid on her lap and all this stuff. She did some things that maybe were disturbing, when it came to the kids. Did it warrant her losing control of her life for 13 years? She really was a prisoner. I'm reading this, I'm thinking I'm reading like a 1950s Elizabeth Taylor movie or a pulp novel where they're trying to lobotomize the heroine. That's what it felt like. Or V.C. Andrews' book. It really felt like that, but this was real. Of course, there may be other opinions about exactly what happened. Recollections may vary, but hey, she's entitled to her story. And I was mesmerized, and I am definitely Team Britney. And I was back then when all this stuff was happening. I remember when she was going through that stuff, when she shaved her head, when she did the MTV, the lackluster performance, and everyone was saying how fat she was. Now, I went back and watched that. Like, she was not fat, especially compared to now where we have, and I'm not saying people are fat now, it's not what I'm saying, but we've evolved about what we accept as like acceptable body types, I guess you could say, which I think is a good thing. It's a positive thing, but she was not fat. Yeah, she gave a lackluster performance, so what? And if she wanted to stop being a pop star, she should have been able to do that. Like, hey, I made my millions. Tell your family to take a hike. You don't owe them anything. Pay off your debts and that stupid guy she ended up with and go on with your life. So I wish Britney the best. And she's still young enough to really have a good life ahead of her. So as much as I would love to see her come back with an incredible album, I'm not holding my breath, and she can do whatever she wants because I think she's terrific. So I'm going to read all the Laura Parker Dark Shadows books this month. And if I have time, I might read some other witchy books because I've been in a witchy mood, which is probably why I have the hat on. And it's also because, it's cold. It feels witchy outside. I'm not complaining too much. And what else? I wanted to discuss a little bit, and I'll just do it briefly because I went off on the Britney thing. What movies I watched for Halloween week. TCM had some good classics. They don't have them up all the time, and they don't generally have much of a horror selection, and they put it with sci-fi, but we'll forgive them. But I did watch a few interesting films. The Eyes of Laura Mars, 1979, starring Faye Dunaway and Tommy Lee Jones, Brad Dourif. It's a great campy film. Wonderful. It's all about fashion and 70s. It's so 70s. It's wonderful. Mario Cantone was doing a series for Halloween on TCM, and I love him. And he and I are from the same generation, and I remember watching him back in the 80s. And this might have been a local show. He did like a local kid show called Steam Pipe Alley back in the day. It was kind of like Pee-wee's Playhouse, but you know, he was really funny. It was out of New York. It might have been national syndication. I'm not sure. But if you know anything about that, let me know, please. Eyes of Laura Mars was so much fun. I've seen it before. I saw it when it first came out in the movie theater. It's preposterous and wonderful and stylish and great. Highly recommend it. I saw a film I had never heard of before called The Awakening, 1980, with Charlton Heston, about an archaeologist who unearths an ancient mummy queen's tomb, and all kinds of horrible things happen. That was interesting. I watched an Amicus anthology film, From Beyond the Grave, 1973, with Peter Cushing as an antique store owner. I know there are several of those films. I think the only one I've ever seen before is Asylum, and maybe one, Tales from the Crypt. Is that another one? Or am I getting that confused with something else? Anyway, it centers around an antique shop, and as different customers come in and buy haunted objects, horrible things happen. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. What else? Oh, and then for Halloween night, I watched Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. That film came out in 1982, and it is definitely a different spin on the Halloween films. Michael Myers is gone, and now we have a different theme. And I kind of wish that they had kept doing that with the Halloween movies. Like each film could have been a different take on Halloween. It really doesn't have a lot to do with witches. Although the poster for it, classic Halloween poster, Halloween 3 poster, Season of the Witch, has the silhouette of the trick-or-treaters. That's one of my favorite movie posters of all time. I need to get a copy of it because it's really great. But it's about well, you probably have seen it, this weird corporation called Silver Shamrock that creates Halloween masks for kids, and every 5 minutes there's a television running the really annoying commercial for it. There's a Stonehenge megalith thrown in there for good measure. It's a very weird film, and I kind of want to watch it again. Very, very creepy film. I actually really enjoyed it. So anyway, I think I might spend the entire month of November reading nothing but witchy horror and watching some witchy-themed horror films. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. So that's all I have for today. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time in my haunted library. Bye.